Mr Speaker, this state is often tested by massive cyclones, floods and bushfires. But, Mr Speaker, at no time did we let any of them frighten us, and I refuse to be frightened by COVID-19. Mr Speaker, this state's defences to coronavirus were activated within weeks of its discovery. Extra powers to enforce isolations, a stockpiling of medicines and equipment, a tripling of capacity in our emergency departments, a doubling of ICU, fever clinics set up, reinforcements of medical staff, and the country's first measures to ease the economic impacts on affected industries. Mr Speaker, all these things were done weeks ago and before they were needed. The same planning and preparation that has seen Queensland safely through 50 natural disasters is being marshalled and directed at this hideous, invisible threat, and it will not defeat us. Mr Speaker, no one underestimates what we are up against. Coronavirus is a health and an economic emergency. You only need to look at the measures that have been taken over the past week to understand the gravity of this situation. The cancellation of events, such as Anzac Day commemorations, is unprecedented in our lifetime. But just as we put our trust in our firefighters during the bushfires, I now call on everyone to put their faith in our doctors and our nurses. Mr Speaker, the cruelest aspect of this crisis is that the people most at risk belong to that generation who built this state and made it what it is today. They survived wars and economic hardship. They raised their families through tougher times than most of us have ever seen. We are not going to repay them by shoving them out of the way in our supermarkets. And since coronavirus is unlike any threat the modern world has faced, it will take special measures to overcome. The State Disaster Management Committee has been stood up and will oversee the government's response. And I want to thank all of my ministers and the Director-Generals for the amazing and hard work they are putting into this. This is a fight that none of us have been in before. It will target whatever budget and government resourcing is needed to get us through. Mr Speaker, this virus could well be our toughest test in our lifetime. From this point on, the road gets harder before it gets easier. But outside this room are people who've stood up to 8 years of drought. They were Queenslanders who first went ashore at Gallipoli, at Villas Breton, Yazi, Grantham, Debbie. Mr Speaker, there are two words you never see together: Queenslander and fear. I know this state will come together and emerge better and stronger than ever, because we always do. Mr Speaker, the well-being and safety of Queenslanders is my government's highest priority. Queensland is among the best prepared for the outbreak. My government will continue to manage the risk of the virus based on the best and latest evidence, and we will listen to the expert medical advice.